Thanks for having us. I have the pleasure today to talk to one of the pioneers in the space, Alex Dreyfus from Chili's. And I know the company he built is on quite a journey, so maybe for everybody in the room that doesn't know what you created and what the team around you built, maybe you can give us a quick historical intro into what you guys did and why it's pretty cool.
Happy to be here, first of all. Chili's is known by both Chili's and socios.com. We are a 7-year-old company, 250 employees. We actually have 80 people in Spain and 60 in Madrid. Our second biggest office is actually in Madrid. And our job is very simple. We are not here to change the world. We are not here to change the dollars. We are not here to change the financial industry. We are just here to tokenize sports team, sports property in general. And for the last 7 years, we've been working with more than 80 sports teams, like FC Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, Valencia, here in Spain, but also Paris Saint-Germain, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Arsenal, Manchester City, Spurs, etc., etc. So we are the company that created the concept of fan tokens, which are not NFTs, they are fungible, which is very important. And these tokens are being treated as first cryptocurrencies, even though I hate that word, but they are treated more like loyalty program on the blockchain, where you, as a fan, you can buy a token of AC Milan, and you can not own a piece of the team, not yet, but you can participate and vote on decision of the club. You can win tickets, VIP experiences, etc., etc. And on top of that, or rather below that, we have a layer 1 called Chili's, which is nothing. It's not the fastest chain. It's not the biggest. It's just the sports blockchain. And we believe a lot in the network effect of having all of these sports teams, and we believe a lot in regulation, and that's why sports team works with us.
Thanks for the intro. So can you elaborate a bit about why Spain? How did you end up here? What excites you about Spain? What's great about the market here? And why Madrid?
Originally, we were based in Malta, actually. I've been living in Malta for the last 18 years now. And when we created the company, created our first token, Chili's, it was in 2018, early 18. We were in Malta. There was a regulatory framework there. And that's how we started. But then when we started to grow as a business, two things happened. One, we needed to make sure we work in a regulated environment in Europe. So we look at different jurisdictions. And we were looking at jurisdictions where people, employees, colleagues, teammates will be happy to either move from Malta to, or it's easier to hire from everywhere else into the office. We chose Spain and Madrid. Spain because the local regulator was very interesting, was very educated in the space, so that gave us a lot of confidence that it's a right place for us to invest. And Madrid as a city, or Spain as a country, great place to hire. Now we have 80 people in Spain, probably from a crypto company, probably one of the top 10 in terms like crypto dedicated. And also because we work with a lot of Spanish football teams, it gives a bit of a comfort and a close relationship. But yeah, it's been a great journey. We've learned a lot in the country. We continue to invest. We are in Plata de España here, funny enough, in the next building of NBA. And that shows as well how Madrid and Spain, but Madrid especially, is a European HQ for the sports industry. So for us to position ourselves here was making sense. So both sports and crypto was the decision to come here.
I think it's a very good decision. Spain is a great sports nation across not just football, but tennis and all the other summer sports. You mentioned a bit about what you did in the past already and what you're building towards to. Can you maybe elaborate what the next evolution or the next stage of evolution for Chili's is? Where is it heading to? Is it more European? Is it global? Is it both?
So we are very distributed from a business perspective. We have a team, sports team from all over the world. I mean, as I said, we have in Spain, Italy, France, England, and many other European countries, but we're also very big in Brazil. Brazil, we have the 9 biggest football teams there. We have an office and working a lot with the regulator as well there. We are very big in Turkey, our first market. And then we have many initiatives in Japan, for example. We have a joint venture with one of the biggest financial conglomerates. Same in Korea, where we work with the local Google/Yahoo called NaverPay. US is a different animal. We spent a lot of money. I lost all of my hair in 21-22 when we spent $80 million, 80, in the US by signing 27 NBA teams, 13 NFL teams, when we decided to launch, or to try to launch, tokens of these teams back in the years. And all of this collapsed in November 2022 when FTX exploded. And the Biden administration decided that crypto was evil and that should not exist anywhere in the world. So we had to leave US. We eventually never launched anything. But now, thanks to the new administration, thanks to the new chairman of the SEC, thanks to a very proactive White House in the space, we are finalizing our strategy in the US in order to launch teams, fan tokens from either NBA teams or NFL teams or MLS teams or whoever teams who wants to be part of that. But they're waiting. They are the one waiting for us to get an approval, aka a guidance, because you don't need a license, but a guidance to issue fan tokens or a token in the US. So one of our main focus is going to be the US. And that's going to happen, I think, Q1, Q2 next year. Last night, the chairman of the SEC said that he expects to have an exemption scheme or framework for innovation by December, which will fit exactly what we are looking for, meaning issuing token. So now we are really like in the starting block, is it a word? Yes. To getting ready to launch these tokens next year on the Chiliz chain. And the other interesting thing we are working on, a little bit more, I don't know if it's more ambitious, but it's more challenging, is what we call a real-world asset, even though I hate that word as well, is how we become, whoever is we, how we acquire minority shares of top 10 football clubs in the world in order to tokenize them and eventually potentially merging them with the fan tokens that we have today. I'll give you an example. Juventus. Juventus is a listed company, actually. You can buy a share of Juventus. As a fan, as a trader, as an investor, you can buy a share of Juventus. What happened when you own $1,000 of a Juventus share? Nothing. You can just vote on the General Assembly to approve the salary of the CEO, the chairman, and that's it. You have zero benefit, nothing whatsoever. Football clubs never pay any dividends because they always lose money. So from a financial point of view, there is nothing. But yes, you own a piece of Juventus. That's great. Now we have a Juventus fan token since 2019. What does a Juventus fan token give you? Well, it gives you the right to vote on what's going to be the music in the stadium every time we score a goal. And that happened actually in January 2020, was the first vote ever we launched. And just as a fun fact, because it's funny, so you have Juventus asking their fans, actually their fan token holders, to vote on what music do you want to have. And thanks to Ronaldo at that time, that was playing for Juventus, that day, which was the 6th January 2020, he scored 3 times, back to back. So 3 times the music went into the stadium. And that was it. That was the beginning of the story of how fan tokens made it. And if you go today in the Juventus Alliance Stadium, you will hear the music that was chosen on-chain by fan token holders. Now, if you merge these kind of benefits, which also are VIP boxes or jersey stuff, etc., if you merge these benefits with an equity somehow, I'm not saying it's possible today legally, it's not, but if you finally manage to kind of merge that in a way, you have the ultimate use case of blockchain, where you have access to equity and utility, and all on-chain. And that's what we will launch in the next 2-3 years through the acquisition of minority shares of some of the biggest clubs in the world.
I have 2 questions. First, do you remember the song that was played?
Yes, song 2 by Blur. There was 4 different choices. and that's the one that was chosen. And that's, for me, of course, as an entrepreneur, it's the ultimate satisfaction. But we have a lot of other cool stuff. Galatasaray, for example, in Turkey, they ask their fans during the football transfer window, we just signed that player ABC, which number do you want him to have in his jersey, between two numbers? I mean, that's the ultimate thing you can ask for a fan. You don't influence the business, you don't influence the sport, you should not, you're a fan, you're not a coach, but everything in the middle can potentially be influenced by fans. And if you do put that on chain, where you have Japanese, Korean, Germans, Brazilian, that actually do love their team. 99% of sports fans of Real Madrid here or Atletico Madrid are not in Madrid. They are everywhere else in the world. But what can you offer to a fan digitally? A voice, a power, an ownership. But you need to digitalize that. What's your second question?
Second question was, you gave example of Juventus, right? And it's a listed company. How would it work for non-listed companies?
It would be much better. We've been working in the sports space for the last 7 years. I think there will be no more ever IPOs for a sports team. Nobody likes it. They are not financial investment, honestly. They are owned by billionaires or families or PE fund, but they are not investment per se. US is a different animal, of course. But we will just we will negotiate with the club the ability to invest 100 million, let's say, in one club in order to acquire 5-10% of the club, and then try to tokenize this and eventually merge this with our existing fan tokens. And we call that fan tokens 2.0.
Can you see a difference between the markets? Is there a difference between the Spanish clubs versus the British clubs, Italian clubs? What's the awareness there, and how do they react to these types of new business opportunities?
Yes. UK clubs UK clubs have much more legacy-ish historically from a football point of view, and because the Premier League is much bigger, sadly, from La Liga or Serie A or the French League. They are the one running the show globally from a football perspective. And that creates, and it's not our journey, but for those who are a bit sports fan here, who remember the concept of the Super League, which was actually created from Madrid. It was an interesting debate about what we call legacy fans and more casual fans. Legacy fans being the fans that are in the stadium and are the community, which is true, of the team, and the more casual fans, which are you and me, traveling all over the world, just being on Twitter and social media, interactive with the team. And UK teams are much more scared of their fans, legacy fans, while they are the one who have the most incredible global fan base, which they struggle to monetize because of this kind of unbalance and competition between how should we treat or how should we monetize or interact with a fan that is in my stadium every second week versus a fan that we will never come, but is still a fan. And so it's a big difference.
Okay, that's interesting. Talking about real-world asset tokenization, when you look at we're now in Europe, what are the things that could support or prevent this from happening? Is there something that you are excited about? Is there something that you're worried about? What needs to be done, and who should do it?
I think in Europe we have Mika. It's cool, but it's not enough. It was very much ahead of its time, but now when you look of the aggressivity, sort of the speed of execution of what US is going through to become, and the president of the US been very clear, they want to be number one in the world in crypto. And you know what? 100% gonna happen, because they have a guy that really wants to make it happen. Here in Europe, we are still we have very talented regulators, but we don't have one executive that's going to say, hey, we really want to make it happen. Everybody's still afraid in Europe, afraid of embracing crypto. And that's what will kill eventually opportunities. And when you go in crypto/blockchain event like Token 2049 last week in Singapore, well, the crypto world, which is what we are doing, is divided between Asia and US and European are mainly spectators. If you look at the top 10, the top 100 quote-unquote token in CoinMarketCap, I believe there is 3 or 4 European teams slash companies or token issuer. So we have this, that's a very weird French say, but I'm sure it exists in English, is we used to say US innovate, Europe regulates, and Chinese copy. It's a very cliche, it's a very long time ago. But the part of we regulate versus we innovate, I think it's still very true right now in Europe. And even though we are ahead with a regulatory framework, which honestly we should be happy about, it may gonna drive more problems than it creates opportunities. And Tether, for example, is a great example. Tether, USDT, the biggest distribution of US dollar in the world, is not in Europe because the regulation does not fit that. Why? Because first we were afraid of USDT, oh, this is bad, it's gonna kill us. Well, congratulations, you just gave an open, you just allowed USD to become to continue to become the #1 currency in the world. So it's far away from our business of sports, but even though regulation is an opportunity, I think we have to be very, very careful about how we embrace it. Not how we embrace it, how it grows, because there is a risk that we're going to go back in time versus the US.
Can you maybe elaborate a bit? We just discussed US versus EU. How is it, for example, in South America? Because you're very active in Brazil and Argentina and so on.
Very open, I mean, there is a regulator that you can talk a lot to, which is great. That was not the case back in the years. Here in Spain, very close, but there are a lot of countries where you cannot really talk with the regulator. So that was frustrating. I always remember, it's very specific to Brazil, but was very weird, but great. We had the equivalent of the SEC of chairman, so the SEC of CNV, I believe there, or CMV, or CVM. And he made, because fan tokens in Brazil, because football teams are huge in Brazil. I'd say much more than it is here in Spain, from a cultural point of view. And we have the fan tokens of Flamengo, Corinthians, Palmeiras, Sao Paulo, all of these biggest teams. And it became so big there that we had the chairman of this institution, secretary of this institution, making a video like this on Twitter saying that fan tokens are not securities, people can buy them and it's fine, and it's not regulated. I mean, it's not regulated, but it's not under the regulatory framework. And that was weird, but that was great because at least you have a communication, you have an interaction. Every country or every continent is a bit different. What frustrates me the most here in Europe, which will impact all of us at some point, is we of course focus a lot, rightfully, on consumer protection, as we should. But it's mainly because people want to save their job and don't want to be fired. It's not because there is a real bigger picture understanding of what we're doing. And my biggest fear is we as a consumer-facing platform, we have an Atletico Madrid fan. He wants to spend 20 euros. You know, he's a fan of Atletico Madrid, wants to spend 20 euros. He wants to vote on the decision of the jersey next season. Or he wants to have a chance to go in the stadium there because we have an amazing box. Please come and visit. And to spend his 20 euros with his Revolut credit card or with his Banco something credit card, he has to give so much information, KYC, and like the amount of information to actually spend money on a rightfully regulated platform. It's too much for the gain of the utility you get. And I think we built regulation for crypto exchanges, which is right, but we haven't built regulation for utility platform or for platform that at some point are consumer facing. And because we were afraid of money laundering and everything. Rightfully. But when it's 20 euro or 500 euro, we should have low limits. And one of the battle or fight I hope to fight as an entrepreneur and as a regulated entity, which we are now in Europe, is to actually try to promote that if we want to make this revolution happening, we need to actually open the gates and let people come with 20 euro, 50 euro, 100 euro with a very low entry bar. Because otherwise, all the people we do not educate are the people who are actually missing out. It's very arrogant what I'm going to say, but we are part of the people that has been very lucky to understand quote-unquote crypto very early, for most of us. And most of us made money out of that. But because we were not afraid of what we read in the media, where crypto was bad, evil, and it's never going to work. So the more you educate, the more you actually you create wealth for everybody. And right now we are still in a place where this wealth is unequally shared towards people who have access to knowledge.
So, as we are unfortunately nearly out of time, one last question. What's your wish for the future when you look at what Europe is doing and where we should head to?
Now that we have that we have a regulatory framework that works, I'd like less competition between countries. With Mika, we had France. I'm French, so it's why I can say that. We have France starting to complain that, oh, look, the Malta, they issued license, blah, 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 blah. The jealousy between European countries and regulators should not ever exist because Europe is a single market, so that makes zero sense, and that's purely ego. I hope that this will disappear at some point, and entrepreneurs will actually make it disappear because we are the one choosing where we want to operate. And I hope that regulators will embrace more innovation to actually make Europe visible in the crypto space and not make us disappear.
On that note, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much.
Maybe a round of applause for our speaker.
Yeah, thanks.